Hello, my name is Professor John Benjamin, and this is Motion Graphics. And today we're going to learn how to help our character wink and to speak. All right, so let's begin. All right, so first I'm going to start in Illustrator, and this is a continuation from the previous episode where we created a character. Now I created this very simple character here that I've named Norb. And you can create your own character, but I want to keep it simple so it's easier to understand the steps and what have you. So you should have created your character last time, and you can just continue on with that character. So now what I've done here is I've created, I think, about 10 different mouth shapes. Now the more shapes you create, the more natural the mouth is going to look. But again, I wanted to keep it pretty simple. And essentially, to do this, you can really create them yourself. You just sort of think about each of the letters in the alphabet, and you'll find that most letters have something very similar. And if you go over here and look in my layers palette, you can see, like, for instance, I've got a l and a th, l and th. The tongue is at the top of the mouth, and so that's this one right here. And so those are very similar. Now here I've got an R, F, V, sh, ch, and j. And so f, v, sh. You could probably break those up into R, F, and V, but I just went ahead and grouped them all together into this simple shape right here. Actually, no, this is the one I'm setting down. So this is my f, v, sh, and so on and so forth. And then another one that I have a lot of is this pretty standard mouth right here. So this is T, C, D, G, N, and S. So not really perfect. That's kind of a lot of letters. I'm over generalizing. Like I said, the more mouths that you make for different letters is going to be more natural. But we want to try to keep this simple. So I've got a bunch. So there's an O, and then there's a U, Q, W, Y, and Oi, which is a little smaller than the O. So really, really pretty simple. And then right here is the resting mouth. And I have a frown, which is also MVP. And then I have a smile. All right, so those are my basic mouth shapes. And you want to go ahead and label them for the different letters. And so if you want to go ahead and copy what I've done here and just make a basic mouth shapes like I have, you can. And you can find lots of different ways of making different shaped mouths online. But like I said, this one, we want to keep it really simple. And so once you've done creating those and you've kind of lumped them in with different letter sounds, I'm going to go ahead and then actually, I'm going to line them to the top like so, yeah, because my mouths all have basically an upper lip, essentially. And I'm just going to sort of put it right there under the eyes. Okay. Yep, that should be fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and I'm going to move over to After Effects. So here in After Effects, I'm going to make a new composition, and I'm just going to call it Norb Talking. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and import Norb. So I'm going to go File and Import. And here's my Norb with red shorts. I'm going to bring him in. And it's going to ask you want to import a composition and layer size, and hit OK. All right, so now I've got all my separate layers here for Norb. And then I've got a Norb layer with everything on it. Now what I'm going to do, you can do this different ways, but I'm actually just going to go ahead and take the mouth layers and create a separate composition. I'm not even in a pre-comp. I'm just going to go Control X, and then I'm going to create a new composition, and I'm going to call it Mouth. And I'm going to go ahead and Control V. And I'm going to go ahead and move it into the center, and I can find the center down here. I can turn on my proportion grid, or probably my title grid is even better. And I'm just going to go ahead and move that right to the center. And I can actually snap it too if I turn on my snapping. All right, so there's my mouth. And then I'm going to create, we're going to do blinking today too. So I'm going to go back to the character here, and I'm going to scroll down and get my eyes. And I've got a bunch of stuff here for pupils. And you can create different eyes. Mine are a little more complicated. They don't really need to be that complicated. But I'm going to go ahead and Control X, and I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer for eyes. Or a new composition, pardon me. And I'm just going to paste those in there. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn on my titles, and I'm going to bring those right down in there. Okay. And the next I'm going to go back to Norb Talking, which is a blank composition I made earlier. And then I'm going to open up all of the different layers for Norb, and I'm going to go ahead and look for the head. There it is, and I'm going to drag that right onto my composition there. Okay, I think I'm going to put them right in the middle. Okay, and I'm going to, wait, what happened? Oh, it just took a minute. Okay, I'm going to zoom in there into Norb's head. I'm going to go ahead and bring in, close this up. I'm going to bring in the mouth. There it is. And I'm going to bring in the eyes. All right, so first let's do the blinking. Okay, so let's turn off the mouth for a moment, and we're going to focus on the eyes. I'm going to go ahead and I can just double click on this to open up my eyes layer. I'm going to zoom in. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this little spark button here. And this is for continuously rasterizing. And so even with vector images, they need to be, if you want them to be crisp, you have to turn this on. Okay. All right, now I've got to change the order a little bit here. The pupils should be on the top. And so should the cornea should be above those. Okay, so that looks better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some parenting. If you have simple eyes, you don't need to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and parent the left pupil with the left cornea, right pupil with the right cornea. And I'm going to go ahead and just, I'm going to actually lump the left, I'm going to parent the left cornea to the right cornea. And so that way what's going to happen now is I'm going to animate both of them together. And so now that these are all together, all I have to do is animate this one because they're parented to this one object. All right, great. So I'm going to do that with scale. I'm going to hit S. I'm going to unhinge this because what I want to do is I want them to blink. I'm just basically shrinking the eyes. All right, so I'll bring that back to 100. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so I can see every keyframe. Now, if you go to the larger mountains here, you can see single frames. I'm going to move up to 1 frame, hit scale. I'm going to move up 2 frames, add a keyframe, and then I'm going to go 2 more keyframes and add another keyframe. And all I'm going to do here, this is the blink. So here at 3 frames, I'm going to go ahead and change that to 0. All right, and I can sort of scrub that. Blink, blink. All right, very cool. All right, now we're going to go ahead and zoom back out. And what we can do is now we're going to automate. Okay, why is that not really zooming? Oh, I see. This composition only has 10 frames. Okay, we need more frames. All right, so composition settings. Oh yeah, that's too small. Let's make this 1 second. Or no, let's make it 10 seconds. All right, that's better. All right, so I zoom out, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and, if I select all of these and move my cursor to the end, Alt or Option bracket, and it'll move all of my time bars all the way to the end. Okay, so I've got 1 blink, but I want them to blink every 3 seconds. You can, however you like. Maybe your character has sore eyes. So let's say at 3 seconds, I'm going to add another scale keyframe right there. And now I'm going to go ahead and add an expression. So if you roll over the stopwatch here in scale and hit Option on a Mac and Alt on the PC, Alt click, and you'll get some expressions here. And here's a little expression language menu. So we're going to go ahead up here and select property, and we're going to loop out right there. Okay, and then what will happen is if we play this, it's going to blink there at 0 at 3 seconds, and then every 3 seconds he'll continue to blink. And so we don't have to keep keyframing that. So, saving a little time with an expression there. Okay, so that's blinking. So let's go back to the mouth and do some talking. So I'm going to go back to Norb talking. And you can see here is blinking. All right, we got that all set up. And I'm going to turn the mouth back on. Okay, so we don't want all those mouth pieces, obviously. So let's double click on the mouth. And we're going to space these out and assign each one of these a number or a time space, I guess you might say. First thing you want to do is sometimes when they import, it gives you the full file name. If you just click the first one, then right-click and say rename, it'll get rid of all that so you can see them more clearly. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here, see the mouths. All right, and so the first thing is I want to have my resting mouth on the top. That's the first one I want to be working with. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to zoom in so I see every frame. And go to 2 frames. Actually, go to frame 1, pardon me. So slide your CTI to 1 frame. And with the resting one selected, you can hit Alt and bracket. And it will go to the right before the next frame. And so we can do that now too with the rest of them. We can select the next one and then shift select all of them. And with my CTI right here, I can hit Alt left bracket and it'll cut them all to there. And then if I hit Alt right bracket, it'll cut them all to the next frame. And so we want them each to be 1 frame long. All right, except for the first one, that can be 2. All right, and so then we're just going to stair step these every frame like so. All right, and I have an 11-second composition here because I have 10 frames, and I want this one to be 1 frame, not 0. So that's why we get 2 frames there. And so then we go, each one gets its own second. So basically how it works is, this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so we should have 10. Okay, so now let's go back to Norb talking. And if I hit play, he'll talk a little, he'll keep talking there because I've got this only set to 10 frames. So I want him to talk a little bit more. Okay, and there's this little bit of talking right there. Okay, he's blinking and talking. So now we're going to go ahead and lip sync that talking up with some actual words. So the first thing we need to do is to time remap this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on mouth. I'm going to right click and we're going to go up to time and enable time remapping. And this is a really powerful tool because you can see typically you can only use the amount of time allotted based on how long the composition is. And so this composition is only 10 frames. But if we remap, we can stretch it out as long as we want. And that'll kind of, and we can stretch this out too. This other keyframe, if I wanted to, I could stretch it out to the end and he'd be sort of just like talking real slow. But we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that second keyframe. All right, and so we're basically without a second keyframe, he's going to stay in the resting position. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to right click on that keyframe right there and we're going to right click it. And we want to toggle hold frame. Now, this is another really great technique that we can use in all sorts of ways in After Effects. What it does is it just whatever expression or movement or position or animation that we set that frame, it'll just stay there until we set the next one. And so this will be handy in this case, but it's useful for lots of things. Okay, so let's go ahead. It's in resting position now, but if I move the cursor up, and now I can set a different time. Now here, we need to, if we can't remember what the numbers that we set earlier, we can go ahead here to mouth, where they're all set and they have their letters and then their numbers. And I can drag mouth up here, like so. Make it a little more narrow. Okay, and then essentially the way it's set up here is they're numbered by layers, but that's also the way I set it up in time. And so here is 1 second, and this one's at 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and so forth. All right, so that's going to make sense in a moment. Where I'm going to, I'm on eyes, I want to be here. No, I want to be Norb talking. Okay. And so I can go ahead now and select a particular mouth based on that number. So let's say the next letter he speaks is the letter A. So I'm going to just click here and just type 6. And there's the letter A. And so now we've gone from resting to A. And it'll stay at A until I tell it to go to a different time. And so let's say I go from A to number 9, which is MVP or frown. So I'll just go ahead and type 9. And there's frown. So that's how we do the talking. All right, so that's pretty simple, right? Except we don't have anything for him to say. So I've pre-recorded some audio which I've left for you in Canvas that you can download, or you can record your own audio and have a little fun with this. But I'm going to go and get some audio from another class that I taught, and I'm going to get Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, because you can never go wrong with Hamlet. All right, here's my little Hamlet audio. And again, you can record on your phone anything you like and just collect the MP3 or the AIFC, whichever audio file you want. And I'm going to go drag that right down onto my timeline. Okay, and now I'm going to look at the waveform, because that's what I really need to do. I need to match up the talking with the waveform and listening to it. So now to do that, I'm going to come down to Hamlet, open it up once, and then again, and then open up the waveform, and there it is. And this isn't a great recording because I don't have any audio here, so I'm going to cut that until I get to the audio where he starts speaking, which is right about here. And you can tell he's speaking because there's a very heavily volume waveform there. Okay, so let's listen to a little bit of Kenneth Branagh.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Okay, so I'm going to have Norb say those things. So we've got to be. So 2 starts right there with the T sound. I'm going to go ahead and find a letter T and just go ahead. And T is the number 4. So we just type in 4 and tab. There's the T. And then 2, we're going to, right next to the 2, T, we're going to go, and that's O. Whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. We want to stay on Norb talking here. All right, so right along with the next, the O, and O is 7, so I'm just going to type 7. All right, so there you can see we've got, oh, I got to get rid of these earlier ones. We don't need those. Right. So we just have 2. The next is B. So I'm going to move the CTI over to where he's saying B. B is number 9. All right, and then I move it over a little bit more and looking for letter E, which the E sound is right here, is number 5. I type in 5. And then it drifts off here. He says B. This is a little long. And then I'm going to go back to resting, which is 1. All right, so let's play that through.
To be.
Great. All right, let's just do a couple more so you kind of get the hang of it. And here's
Or not to be.
or not to be. All right, so I'm going to stay right here, find O. That's number 7. To be or, and I think he says N right there.
Or not.
Oh, this is all or right here. So or
Not.
not starts right about there. So we're going to go from or to not, which is N. And my N is a number 4. Type in 4. Not. And then I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with another number 7. Not. And then I think, let's see here. Yeah. So there's 2 T's right here, and I'm just going to give him 1. I'm going to put that CTI right there and add T, which is a 4. And that's another 2. I'm going to go with the smaller 2, which is, I have it as an OI right here, number 8. To be or not to, I think this is a B. It's going to be 9. And right after that, it's going to be an E sound, which is a 5. And it's going to drift off, and I'm going to go back to resting, which is a 1. Okay, so and then we're going to tinker with those a little bit. But let's see how it's lining up so far.
To be. Or not to be.
Okay, I think you get the hang of it. You get the gist. And like you can see, it's a little choppy because I only have 10 mouth shapes, and they're really simple. So again, the more mouth shapes and a little bit more rounded they are, more human-like they look, they'll be better. And there are other ways to do this. I will go over one other way in another tutorial. But this is a pretty basic way that a lot of animators use. I think it's probably the most common way. So great. Well, good luck with that on your assignment. Thanks for joining me.